The conference room of Halston Enterprises was buzzing with tension. Wall Street executives, investors, and legal teams crowded around the polished mahogany table, their faces taut with anticipation. At the center, billionaire Adrian Halston sat, reviewing the final slides on his tablet, ready to close a $200 million merger that would elevate his empire to unprecedented heights. "Everything is set," Adrian said, his voice calm but commanding. "Signatures on the dotted line, and we're done. This deal secures the future of our company, and my vision." His assistant nodded. "All parties are on their way. Just a few minutes until the call." As the room waited in tense silence, Adrian's mind raced through every detail, numbers, projections, and contingencies. Nothing could go wrong tonight. Nothing. Meanwhile, across the street, a small diner was closing for the evening. Waitress Emily Harper was stacking chairs, wiping down tables, and muttering to herself about her long shift. Her dreams of starting her own bakery were temporarily shelved. Overdraft fees, rent, and family responsibilities had to come first. "Just one more coffee to go," she said, grabbing a mug for herself, her hands slightly shaking from exhaustion. As she stepped outside, balancing the cup, a sleek black car skidded to a stop at the diner's entrance. Emily jumped back, startled, as the car door opened. Out stepped a man in a tailored suit, sunglasses perched atop his head despite the fading sun. His presence radiated power, authority, and something almost untouchable. Adrian Halston had been rushing between meetings and had missed his usual cafe stop. On a whim, he had pulled over at this small diner, hoping for a quick cup before the final conference call. But as he reached the entrance, he collided, literally, with Emily. "Watch it!" she exclaimed, gripping her coffee. "I apologize," he said, catching himself. "I didn't see you there." Their eyes met, and Emily froze. Something about him was magnetic, commanding yet not entirely unapproachable. She had seen executives on TV, on the news, people who lived in worlds far removed from hers. And now, one was standing right in front of her, flustered only slightly by the collision. I'm fine," she stammered. He noticed the tremor in her hands. "Are you sure?" "Yes," she replied quickly, setting the coffee down. Adrian glanced at his watch and panicked slightly. He was late, every second counted. He opened the diner door to leave, but Emily's voice stopped him. "Wait," she said, urgency in her tone. "Before you go, can I ask something?" He turned, eyebrows raised. "Something? I noticed your call earlier. You're rushing, trying to close something huge," she asked cautiously. "Are you sure you've thought this through?" Adrian blinked. Taken aback by her audacity, he felt a flicker of curiosity. Most people his entire life had either cowered or flattered him. This waitress, this small, tired, ordinary woman, was questioning him. "And you think I shouldn't?" he asked, intrigued despite himself. Emily hesitated. I just... Mistakes at your level cost millions. I'm sure you're brilliant, but maybe a second opinion, or just a moment to breathe, could save a lot." Adrian's jaw tightened slightly. He had no time for interruptions. And yet, something in her voice, her concern, not for herself but for him, struck a chord he didn't expect. He looked at the street, the car waiting, the deal hanging in balance. And then he looked at Emily, her eyes earnest, slightly fearful, but unwavering. "Why are you giving a stranger advice?" he asked, his tone curious, not annoyed. Emily shrugged. "Call it instinct. I've worked long enough to know when someone is rushing into a problem. You look human. I guess I couldn't just walk away." For the first time that day, Adrian Halston paused, not for investors, not for contracts, but for her. Her ordinary presence, her simple courage, disrupted the high-stakes world he was immersed in. Minutes passed. The city noise faded slightly as they stood there, two worlds colliding. Adrian felt an unexpected urge to listen, not just to her words, but to her presence. Finally, he said softly, almost to himself, "You may have just stopped me From what, I'm not entirely sure, but you did. Emily blushed, unsure if she had overstepped. I didn't mean to, you didn't overstep, he interrupted, voice warmer now. You made me think. Something rare for anyone to do. He reached down, picked up his coffee and gestured toward her. Sit. 5 minutes. That's all I can spare before I finish what must be finished. Emily's eyes widened in disbelief. Sit? With you. Trust me, he said, a small smile forming. 5 minutes. And so, the billionaire and the waitress sat together outside a small diner, sipping coffee and sharing a moment that neither expected. 2 lives, 2 worlds, briefly connected before a $200 million deal could change everything. Emily sat down, still wide-eyed at the turn of events. Adrian poured a small amount of coffee into her cup from the thermos he'd grabbed on the go. The steam curled toward her face, the rich aroma filling the crisp evening air. I still can't believe you're doing this, she whispered, glancing at him. A billionaire stopping for me? Adrian shrugged, but there was a small, almost boyish smile on his lips. Maybe it's my way of proving that even billionaires need reminders from strangers sometimes. Emily raised an eyebrow. Strangers? I feel more like an intruder. You're not, he said firmly, eyes locking on hers. Not here, not now. Sit, talk 5 minutes. No deals, no contracts, just this. She laughed softly, the sound light and genuine. 5 minutes? That's all you can spare from a $200 million deal? 5 minutes is all it takes to make a big difference sometimes, he said, tilting his head. And right now, you might be making a difference I didn't even know I needed. Emily's heart skipped. She had expected arrogance, coldness, or dismissal. Not a billionaire admitting without pretense that she mattered even briefly. So, she began, feeling suddenly bold. Why do you think I stopped you? Instinct? Or did you just seem like someone who needed a reality check? Adrian leaned back in the chair, crossing his arms. Maybe a little of both. Mostly, you seem real, grounded, and that's rare in my world. They talked first cautiously, then with increasing ease. Emily shared small details about her life, the late shifts at the diner, her dreams of opening a bakery, her family responsibilities. Adrian listened, genuinely interested, asking thoughtful questions that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. You know, he said, leaning slightly forward, most people in my position, well, they'd never stop for a waitress, let alone actually listen. They'd be too busy counting money or planning the next acquisition. But you're different. Emily blushed, unsure whether to laugh or be flustered. I'm not special. I just notice things. And apparently I notice when someone is rushing into something without thinking. You noticed correctly, he said softly. I almost closed a deal tonight that would have been perfect on paper, but not in reality. And you stopped me. That's extraordinary. Her chest warmed. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not her boss, not her family, not even close friends. She felt appreciated, seen, and it terrified her in a good way. As the minutes passed, their conversation shifted to lighter topics. Adrian asked about her favorite desserts at the diner, the weirdest customer requests, and even the odd habits she had developed after years of late-night shifts. Emily found herself laughing more freely than she had in months. You laugh too easily, he teased, a playful glint in his eyes. I'm laughing because you're ridiculous, she shot back, mock stern but smiling. Touché, he said, raising his coffee cup in a toast. To ridiculous moments that make life worthwhile. Emily clinked her cup to his. To ridiculous moments, she echoed. Suddenly, a car horn blared. Rom the street, pulling them back to reality. Adrian glanced at his watch. He was dangerously close to missing the conference call. The tension of the $200 million deal loomed again, but he felt a strange reluctance to leave this ordinary, unexpected human moment behind. Emily, he said, standing. I should go. That deal. millions of dollars is waiting. But, thank you. Truly. She looked up at him, unsure if she should say goodbye. You're welcome, I guess. But, are you going to be okay? I'll survive, he said with a small smile. And thanks to you, I'll survive better than I would have otherwise. Emily's heart fluttered. He was serious and sincere. She had expected arrogance, dismissal, or hurry, but instead she found warmth, attention, and a rare vulnerability in a man whose life seemed untouchable. As Adrian walked toward his car, he paused, turning back to her. One more thing, he said, voice softer now, almost hesitant. I'd like to see you again. Not as a coincidence, not as an interruption, just intentionally. Emily froze. You want to see me again? Yes, he said simply. Coffee, a walk, a conversation. No deals, no interruptions, just us. Her pulse raced. She hadn't expected this, and yet, she realized she wanted it too. I'd like that, she said, her voice trembling slightly. He smiled, a slow, magnetic curve of his lips that made her stomach tighten. Good, I'll arrange it. Soon. And with that, he got into his sleek black car and drove away, leaving Emily standing on the street, heart racing, coffee in hand, and a feeling she couldn't quite name. Thrill, fear, and anticipation all rolled into one. That night, as she lay in bed, Emily replayed the encounter in her mind. The billionaire CEO, the $200 million deal, and her role as a small, ordinary waitress. It all seemed absurd, yet she couldn't shake the memory of his eyes, his words, and the way he had listened. Somehow she knew that this accidental meeting wasn't just a coincidence. That interruption had changed the course of both their lives, and as she drifted off to sleep, she wondered, not for the first time, what it would be like to step fully into his world, and whether he might step into hers. The following week felt surreal for Emily. She kept replaying the encounter with Adrian Halston in her mind, the billionaire CEO who had paused a $200 million deal to talk to her. It felt like a dream, one she wasn't sure she belonged in. Yet the memory of his eyes, his smile, and the sincerity in his words refused to fade. Her day at the diner passed in a haze. Orders blurred together, the coffee machines hissed, and the chatter of customers became background noise. Her mind was elsewhere, imagining the life of a man she barely knew but who had somehow made her feel seen. Meanwhile, Adrian was back in the high-stakes world of corporate mergers. His team huddled around the conference table, pushing for signatures, contracts, and approvals. But even amid the chaos, Adrian found his mind wandering. He couldn't stop thinking about Emily, the way she had spoken, her warmth, her courage to stop him even for a moment. Adrian, his assistant called, snapping him out of his thoughts. The client is online too. They want a progress update. Adrian nodded but didn't respond immediately. His thoughts were tangled. A waitress, a diner, and yet, she's on my mind more than this entire deal. That evening, Adrian sent Emily a text. Coffee tomorrow? Let's continue where we left off, intentionally this time. Emily stared at the message, heart racing. She knew she wanted to say yes, but part of her hesitated. The world he inhabited was so different from hers. Could a waitress truly fit into a billionaire's life? After a moment, she typed back, Yes, I'd like that. The next morning, Emily arrived at the diner early, her hands trembling slightly as she poured coffee for herself. Adrian was already waiting, sitting at a small corner table, casually relaxed yet radiating the same commanding presence that had captured her attention days earlier. Good morning, he said, smiling warmly. I see you survived another late-night shift. I did, she replied, smiling nervously. And you survived your merger drama? Barely, he admitted, leaning back. But I think this meeting might be more important than anything on Wall Street. Emily's heart skipped a beat. The fact that he was prioritizing her, over millions of dollars, made her feel simultaneously thrilled and terrified. As they talked, Adrian noticed subtle changes. Emily was careful with her words, cautious, almost afraid to overstep, yet she was curious, clever, and witty. He found himself laughing at her jokes, genuinely enjoying her company, in a way he hadn't in years. "Why are you so different from anyone else I meet?" he asked suddenly. Emily blinked. "Different? How do you mean?" "You listen," he said, "really listen, and you care about things that most people wouldn't notice. That's rare." Her cheeks warmed. No one had ever spoken to her like that, even at her bakery classes or with friends. This level of attention felt foreign, and yet it was exhilarating. Their morning was interrupted when a text from one of Adrian's business rivals arrived. "You're wasting time. The deal waits for no one. Focus, Halston." Adrian frowned, torn between the urgency of business and the rare comfort he felt with Emily. He looked at her, noticing her patience, her calm amidst his world of chaos. "I need to finish something," he said reluctantly, "but I don't want to end this morning with you just yet." Emily shook her head. "You need to do your work. I understand." He smiled softly, brushing a stray hair from her face. "You're amazing. Even knowing I'm about to vanish into contracts, you still care about me, not my money, my status, just me." Later that evening, Adrian faced a tense boardroom again. Investors were pressing, numbers were scrutinized, and his rivals were circling. Yet he couldn't stop thinking about Emily. Her voice, her laugh, her insight, they haunted him in a way no business deal ever had. During a particularly heated call, a legal advisor mentioned a small oversight that could jeopardize the $200 million merger. Adrian's pulse quickened. The numbers screamed for immediate action. But the thought of Emily's words earlier lingered. "Stop rushing. Think carefully." He realized with a startling clarity that she had saved him, again. First at the diner, now in his mind. Her instinct and intuition had helped him avoid a costly mistake. Meanwhile, Emily closed the diner, exhausted but satisfied. Her thoughts drifted to Adrian constantly. She wondered if he even thought of her, or if she had been a brief distraction in his high-powered world. She shook her head. "I can't let myself hope for that." Suddenly her phone buzzed. "Can you meet tonight? I need your advice. My call might go wrong without it." "Adrian." Her stomach flipped. "Him? Asking for my advice?" Emily hesitated, then typed, "I'll be there." Later that night, she arrived at Adrian's penthouse. The city skyline glimmered through the windows, luxurious and intimidating. Adrian was pacing, tense, a laptop open in front of him. "Emily," he said, exhaling, "I didn't think I'd need a waitress to save my deal. But here we are." She laughed softly. "I'll try not to mess it up." As they reviewed documents together, Emily noticed subtle discrepancies and potential risks that even Adrian's top lawyers had overlooked. Her careful observation and sharp instincts helped him identify a flaw that could have cost millions. Adrian stopped and stared at her. "You just saved $200 million, he said quietly. Emily shrugged, embarrassed. "I just noticed something you might have missed." He stood, walking toward her with intensity. "No, you did more than notice. You prevented disaster. And you did it without a single ounce of arrogance. You're remarkable." Emily's heart raced. Remarkable? A billionaire telling her she was remarkable? She could hardly breathe. That night, after the deal was officially secured, Adrian walked Emily to the door. The city lights reflected in his eyes, the tension and relief from the day blending with something new, something personal, intimate, and undeniable. "Emily," he said softly, "I didn't just need you to stop me from rushing the deal. I needed you. Your honesty, your courage, your insight. You've changed me more than you'll ever know." She swallowed hard. "I didn't expect any of this. I just wanted to help." "You did," he said. "And you've changed everything." As she walked home, Emily realized that her simple act, stopping a stranger, giving advice, trusting her instincts, hadn't just saved a deal. It had sparked a connection, a bond with a man she never expected, and a future she hadn't dared to imagine. The weekend after the successful $200 million deal, Adrian invited Emily to his private rooftop garden in the city. The invitation had been unexpected, a quiet evening, just the two of them, a chance to relax away from the chaos of mergers, deadlines, and corporate stress. Emily felt a mixture of excitement and nerves as she approached the building. The idea of spending time with a billionaire outside a diner or a boardroom made her pulse race. She adjusted her jacket, smoothed her hair, and reminded herself, this is just coffee, right? When she entered the rooftop, Adrian was already there, leaning casually against the railing. The city lights stretched endlessly behind him, and the soft breeze ruffled his hair. "Emily," he said warmly, eyes lighting up as he saw her. "You made it." "I did," she replied, feeling suddenly shy. "And this is beautiful." "Not as beautiful as you," he said, the corner of his mouth lifting in a teasing smile. Emily laughed nervously. Her heart skipped. Did he just compliment me? And with that smile, Adrian had set up a small table with coffee, pastries, and a few candles. The atmosphere was cozy, intimate, and carefully thought out, a stark contrast to the corporate chaos he usually inhabited. "Relax," he said, gesturing to the table. "No deals tonight, no stress, just us." They sat together, and conversation flowed easily. Adrian asked about her bakery dreams, her family, and even her weird habits at the diner. Emily found herself laughing more freely than she had in months. The man beside her, the CEO who had been untouchable, intimidating, and distant, was now approachable, playful, and surprisingly tender. "You really are different," Adrian said after a while. "Most people in my life would never notice the little details you see or care like you do." Emily's cheeks flushed. "Different how?" "Different enough to be unforgettable," he said softly. As the night deepened, Adrian became more open about himself. He shared stories of childhood dreams, mistakes he'd made along the way, and the loneliness that sometimes accompanied power. Emily listened, fascinated. "You don't have to impress me," she said, touched by his vulnerability. "I don't care about money or titles, I just care about who you are." Adrian's hand brushed hers across the table. The contact was brief but electric. "And I care about you, Emily," he admitted quietly. "More than I should, more than I've cared about anyone in years." Her heart leapt. She wanted to believe him, but a small voice whispered doubt. How can a billionaire and a waitress ever be more than a fleeting connection? The moment was interrupted by a soft buzz, Adrian's phone. He glanced at it reluctantly, frowning. A rival executive was sending a message, pressuring him to attend a late-night meeting regarding a merger. "I'm sorry," he said, guilt flickering across his face. "Business calls, even at night." Emily shook her head. "It's okay, I understand." But Adrian reached for her hand, holding it gently. "I hate that. His world intrudes on us, even for a moment. But Emily, know this. Nothing you do, nothing tonight is overlooked. You're more important than any deal, any meeting, or any pressure from the outside world." The sincerity in his eyes made her chest tighten. She wanted to believe him, and a part of her did. Later they wandered to the edge of the rooftop, the city sprawling below them. Adrian stopped suddenly, taking both of her hands in his. "Emily," he said, voice low, "I don't usually let myself feel like this. But being with you, it's real. I've tried to ignore it, rationalize it, pretend it's impossible. But I can't. Not anymore." Her pulse raced. "Adrian." "I feel it too," she whispered. "But it's overwhelming. Your world. It's so different from mine." He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I know. That's why I want to be careful to go slow. But I also want you to know that I'm serious, about us, about seeing where this goes. No games, no illusions, just us." Emily's chest tightened. For the first time, she felt truly seen, valued, and desired, not for her looks or status, but for herself. Just as the moment hung between them, a photographer's flash lit up the skyline, an unexpected paparazzi intrusion. Emily panicked, stepping back. Adrian noticed immediately. "It's okay," he said calmly, shielding her with his body. "I'll handle it." 2 minutes later, the paparazzi moved along, but the incident left Emily shaken. I don't want my life to be invaded like that," she said, voice trembling. Adrian held her close. "It won't be, I promise. You're part of this now, not as a headline, not as a distraction, but as someone I protect. Always." Her heart melted. The combination of danger, intensity, and tenderness made her feel both terrified and exhilarated. She realized how much she wanted him, despite, or maybe because of, the complications. That night, back in her apartment, Emily replayed every moment. The rooftop, the soft music, the coffee, and Adrian's gentle reassurances. She knew their connection was deepening, becoming more personal and intimate. But challenges were clear. His high-powered world, rival executives, and media scrutiny could all intrude. Yet one thought dominated her mind. She wanted to face all of it with him. She wanted to be the one who stopped him, supported him, and shared these rare, precious moments. The next morning, Adrian sent a simple message. "Coffee tonight? No distractions, just us." Emily smiled, feeling a flutter in her chest. "I'll be there," she typed back. She knew that despite the challenges ahead, the rivalries, the media, the differences in their worlds, the connection they shared was worth it. Every spark, every glance, every stolen moment made her heart certain. She wanted Adrian in her life, and she wanted to face whatever came next, together. The following week, Adrian's $200 million merger officially closed, and the city buzzed with news of his triumph. Wall Street celebrated, the press praised him, and investors toasted his brilliance. Yet Adrian wasn't celebrating. Not truly. His thoughts kept drifting back to Emily, the waitress who had interrupted him at the diner, who had challenged him, who had saved his deal, and now had occupied every corner of his mind. The deal was monumental, but it didn't make him feel alive the way she did. He sent her a message, "Meet me at the diner at 7 p.m., not for coffee, not for work. Just for us." Emily's heart raced when she read it. They hadn't seen each other since the rooftop evening, and she had spent every day thinking of him, replaying their conversations, and wondering if he truly felt the same way. "I'll be there," she typed. That evening, Emily arrived at the diner, adjusting her apron nervously. Adrian was already there, seated at the corner table with no coffee, no laptops, nothing but himself. He looked up as she entered, and for a moment, the world outside faded. "Emily," he said softly, standing. "You're here. I wouldn't miss it," she replied, trying to mask the nerves fluttering in her chest. He gestured for her to sit. "I wanted tonight to be simple. No distractions, no interruptions, just us." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I like simple," she said quietly. As they spoke, Adrian's tone grew serious. "Emily, this past week I've realized something," he began, leaning forward, "something that has nothing to do with deals, money, or the press. Something that I can't ignore anymore." Emily's pulse quickened. "What is it?" "I care about you," he said, each word deliberate. "More than I've cared about anyone in years. More than I should, given our worlds, given our differences. But I do. And I can't let you go, not after everything, not after you stopped me, saved me, and changed me." Her eyes widened. She wanted to speak, to respond, but words failed her. Her heart was racing, her hands trembling slightly. "You don't have to say anything," he continued. "Just know that I mean it, every word." Before she could respond, the diner door swung open, and flashes from cameras filled the room. Paparazzi had followed Adrian, hoping for a scoop on his $200 million deal. or a glimpse of any romantic scandal. Emily panicked, instinctively stepping back. I can't. Adrian placed his hands gently on her shoulders. It's okay. This isn't about them. Not tonight. Focus on us. With a calm, commanding presence, he guided her to a small corner booth where the light was soft and the cameras couldn't reach. He held her hand tightly, as if anchoring them both to the moment. You're safe, he whispered. I won't let anyone take this from us. After the initial chaos passed, they sat together, hands intertwined, the outside world fading. Adrian looked into Emily's eyes, and she finally found her voice. Adrian, I care about you too, she admitted, tears welling in her eyes. But your world, it's so big, and mine, it's small. I don't know how we could fit together. He shook his head gently. Emily, that's the point. Our worlds are different. But that doesn't make it impossible. It makes it worth trying. You've shown me what it means to see life differently, to pause, to notice, to care. You've changed me, and I want to change with you, together. Her breath caught. She had expected flattery, charm, maybe even wealth-induced arrogance. But this sincerity, this vulnerability left her speechless. Adrian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emily gasped. I've never done this before, he said softly. Never asked anyone to take a leap like this. But I can't imagine my life without you. Emily Harper, will you be with me? Not as a distraction, not as a fleeting moment, but as something real, lasting, and ours. Emily's hands flew to her mouth, tears spilling freely. Yes, I will. He slid the delicate ring onto her finger, and the weight of it felt more than jewelry. It was a promise, a commitment, and the acknowledgement that despite their worlds, they had chosen each other. The paparazzi outside never realized the intimacy that had just unfolded. For Adrian and Emily, the room shrank to just the two of them, the waitress who stopped a billionaire and the man who had been unstoppable until he met her. They laughed, cried, and shared a long, tender kiss. All the tension of their differences, the stakes of his empire, and the pressure of the public eye melted away. I can't believe this, Emily whispered, still holding his hand. You believe it, he said, smiling down at her, because it's real, and it's ours. Over the next few weeks, Adrian and Emily navigated the challenges of their very different worlds. There were business dinners, media scrutiny, and social expectations, but they faced it together. Adrian remained protective yet respectful, always ensuring Emily's voice was heard, her comfort prioritized, and her dreams valued. Emily in turn supported him, shared her insight, and became a grounding presence in his high-powered, chaotic life. They discovered joy in ordinary moments, cooking together in Adrian's penthouse, late-night walks across the city, and of course coffee, always coffee. Every shared cup reminded them of that first encounter at the diner and how a single moment of courage and honesty had changed everything. One evening, Adrian took Emily back to the diner, the place where it all began. They sat at the same corner table, the same warm lights overhead, and watched as life went on around them. You stopped me that night, he said softly, and it's hard to believe that such a small act could lead to all of this. Emily smiled, leaning against him. I guess it takes only one moment to change everything, and you changed everything for me, Adrian whispered. They shared a long, quiet moment, hearts aligned, worlds connected, and a future full of possibilities stretching ahead. The waitress who had stopped a billionaire had not only changed his deal, she had changed his life. And for Adrian Halston, nothing had ever mattered more. More stories will keep coming, so please don't forget to like and subscribe.